Well, good morning. My name is Louie Blaze, and I'm representing the Fairhope Library. I am interviewing Mr. Colvin Adams this morning. It is Wednesday, July 27th, 2003. And this interview is being conducted at the Fairhope Library's Veterans Oral History Collection. Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
How are you today, sir?
Good.
What is your full name, sir?
Colvin Wood Adams.
And date of birth?
06/08/1959.
And the branch of service you were in?
The Army.
The Army. And what is the highest rank that you attained?
E7.
And the war conflict served?
Desert Storm and Enduring Freedom.
I looked this little biographical information. Let's see, where were you living when you joined the military?
Montgomery, Alabama.
And were you married?
Right. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Well, how did your wife feel about you joining the military?
Well, she was kind of surprised, but not too bad, you know.
Yeah. You enlisted, I take it, right?
Right, I did.
Yeah. And did you go to school in Montgomery?
I went to school in Hopeful, Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went through what?
Yeah, I got my GED from AUM.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Very good. And what did you do before you joined the service?
I was a heavy equipment mechanic.
Mechanic.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Now, when you went into the military, did you have children? You left your wife home, I take it? Or?
I didn't have it. She was pregnant when I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went into the Army, you said?
Yeah, Army Reserve.
Yeah, Army Reserve. Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you voluntarily join the Army?
Just voluntary, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just make a better life for myself and see things, you know, and get a certain trade I wanted.
So how long were you in the reserves before you decided to go active?
Well, I never was active till we got activated through a deployment.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never was served full-time active, except when
okay.
I was deployed.
Okay. Now, so you didn't have to go through the normal basic training then?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I went.
Oh,
I went through basic training in 1978 in March. Went through basic training in my job skill, which was lifting and loading equipment operator, which was a crane operator, all in the same, about 5 months of it, in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Missouri. You didn't have to go through the basic training that combat soldiers?
Oh, yeah. I went to my 8 weeks of combat training, yeah. Regular basic training.
Yeah.
And then I went to my AIT.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
Okay. What do you remember about your basic training? Anything? Where'd you do that? Your 8 weeks?
Fort Leonard Wood. Both of my AIT and basic training was in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Yeah.
Well, it was new to me, you know. We stayed up all night when we got there, filling out paperwork, and then we got marched over to the reception station, which was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they said, go in there and get you some good sleep. We'll get you up after a while. Well, after a while was about 2 hours. So they started shouting right off the bat.
Okay. How'd you get there?
Flew from Montgomery to St. Louis, and they picked us up on a little old van in St. Louis.
Okay. Your whole unit?
No, it was just me.
Oh, just you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my initial enlistment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was my initial enlistment. I joined in November of '77, and then I didn't go take my basic training until to the spring of that year of '78.
All right. After your basic training, then what did you do? What was your basic assignment after that?
Well, I went into my lifting and loading equipment operator next. Now,
Okay.
I fell out of basic training, went right into my training,
Okay.
and we served there 9 weeks in that MOS.
You already doing that though, right?
Right.
So what kind of specialized training did you get from the Army that you wasn't already doing in civilian
Yeah, well,
life?
demolition. We food with a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of demolition, shape charges, C4, TNT, dynamite, how to tie rigging, do fortifications,
Yeah.
build bunkers. Yeah. that
Okay.
type of stuff.
So you recall your instructors? What were they like?
Well, during in basic training, they was pretty strict, a lot more than they are now, but it just learned to be it's just after a while, it just learned to be a routine,
Yeah.
You knew that you had to get up and do your barracks cleaning and your boots shining, and
How old were you at this time?
I was 18.
Oh, you was just a kid then.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yes, I was 18.
Okay. Now you was already doing construction, right?
Right.
Right. So what did they teach you that you didn't already know?
Let me think.
The demolition part, I guess.
Yeah, the demolition was about the best I could. I never operated a crane actually, so I learned friction cranes during that era.
What is that? I don't know.
In other words, they got clutches. They don't have hydraulics. It's all friction brakes and levers.
Oh, okay.
And during that time too, they didn't have the hydraulic cranes yet. So I had to learn how to operate an old cable-operated backhoe, which is a excavator.
Mm-hmm.
And it is all cable, both feet, both hands, to operate it. And they also had the old shovel, like they dug and you swing across the truck, and that was all both feet and both hands operating it. And operating a drag line was a pretty good task. You could really mess up something if you didn't know what you were doing with a drag line.
So you had to learn that from scratch then?
Right, I had to learn all that from scratch. Every bit of it.
So what was the hardest part of adjusting from civilian to military life for you?
I guess the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was new.
Mm-hmm. What was the easiest part? Nothing.
Well, I've always been a hard worker, so I learned to adapt to everything. It had nothing that ever was no big task to me. I just took it in stride and kept on going.
Well, how long was it before you got deployed then? After your training?
We got deployed in September of 1990.
How many years? You say, was that a couple of years then?
Well, from 78 to 90.
Oh, okay, 2 years then. So you
Well, no, it was 88, about 12 years.
about 12 years before you
Yeah.
got deployed. So what did you do during that 12 years?
Well, we done a drill every weekend,
Okay.
and then we go to summer camp.
Oh, okay.
Twice
okay,
a
you were in
year.
the reserves during that 12
during that
years.
right,
Okay,
yes.
I got you.
And we would go to different areas, anywhere from Camp Shelby. We never went overseas until I got into the 90s.
Okay. And what did you feel like when they told you you're going to, or you pretty much expected
Well,
it?
I tell you the story behind that. I was in a unit in Montgomery, the 282nd Supply and Service Company, and the unit that got deployed was out of Abbeville, Alabama, 851st Supply and Service Company, and they was needing, you always have to get your TO&E up, all your equipment and everything you're supposed to have. So they was missing a few vehicles, and they called me on active duty to carry vehicles down to that unit. Well, they was needing another mechanic, so I actually volunteered to go with them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I volunteered, and they cut me orders. Well, matter of fact, I carried the truck down one day, went home, told my wife I was deploying to go to Iraq, and I had to pack my bags that night and report to duty the next day.
How did she feel about
Oh,
that?
she was surprised. She was surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, they cut my orders that quick, so.
So, okay. So when you went straight over to...
Well, we had to do a pre-mob, we had to get all our equipment ready and load it on the trucks. So we done some training, kind of catch-up training there. We deployed out of Fort Rucker at the time. And after we got all our training done, we convoyed our vehicles down to Jacksonville, Florida, and loaded them on a cargo ship. And they was asking for volunteers to get on the boat to go with the equipment. You had to have one individual from each company that had vehicles on there. So I volunteered and got on the ship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it took us 29 days to go over to Saudi Arabia, where we docked.
A month almost?
Yeah. We went through the Suez Canal and Gibraltar, stopped and got fuel in Gibraltar.
Wow.
But it was pretty interesting.
So that was... do you have any duties while you were on the ship?
Well, we had to move up and down the ship, tightening the lashings, the chains, because we was in a hurricane when we left.
Wow.
So for about a week there, we went around and tightened all the chains and stuff up. We had 3 decks, had upper, and lower. And then we was carrying explosives and stuff. So when we got to the Suez Canal, for some reason they brought us right in there. Right there in the start of it. So we had to pull guard on that 24/7. Keep somebody from getting on sabotaging or blowing it up.
Is there a problem taking explosives through a canal?
Well, you don't never have all your detonators and all that, and they're not in the explosive itself. You got to add them to it.
So when you got to where did you port? Where did y'all port?
It was Dhahran, Saudi Arabia.
Okay, and then what happened? What did y'all do then?
Oh Lord, it was well. We had to wait till we got off the ship and get all our vehicles off the ship, and then we had a certain area in Saudi Arabia where we had to go out and set up our camp.
Okay.
And so we got out there and set up all our tents and started our operation, because we was attached to a battalion that was under the 24th Infantry Division. And then we'd done our normal duties as far as handing out rations breakdown and doing the other tasks that the unit had. And I was a mechanic at the time, so we maintained our vehicles and fixed anything that was broke down.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far was it from the port to where y'all set up?
Oh, maybe 30 miles.
Oh, real close.
Yeah, it wasn't real close.
Yeah.
We real far. We was close. They was still, we hadn't started the air campaign yet, so.
Okay, before that.
Yeah.
So what'd you do after you got there? Got your equipment all set up and...
Well,
was anything going on at that time?
Well, we wasn't having to do no combat duties at the time, because they were still going on with the air campaign. Now we had to build bunkers. We done that because they was afraid they was going to use biological, chemical weapons, and we would practice getting in our chemical suits and gas masks, and then we did have a alarm go off one day where we had to go into the bunkers fully, in our chemical suits,
Okay.
and waited till we got an all clear. And we still don't know to this day was it for real or not. They say it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
Was this a army base you were on? What was?
in the middle of the desert.
How many? What all was there besides the construction people there?
Well, we had a full battalion of a supply company, which was a whole different unit from us, and they had their own fuel. We had fuel blivets, fuel stations. Now
Yep.
we'd have 10,000-gallon bladders. You have to set them up in a berm and do all your piping and your pumping. So you set all. No, we had over 100,000 gallons worth of diesel fuel sitting on the ground, and we'd have fuel stations, and just kind of like you go to the grocery store, you go get your groceries, and if you needed any uniforms sewed or washed, you turn them in, and
How did they get the fuel there? Did they pipe it in or they truck it in?
well, they had a fuel point about 25 miles, I guess, north of us. It was a bigger fuel company to come out of Fort Lee, Virginia. So we'd go there. Now, I don't know where they had to get it from Saudi Arabia there somewhere, and truck it. So they'd truck it from Saudi Arabia to them, and then we'd go up there, and when we got to needing fuel and getting our fuel and go fill up our bladders. So, yeah, we
Trucked it in.
Yeah, trucked it in. Yeah.
That's a lot of fuel to truck in.
Yeah. Hey, and then when you get ready to go forward, you got to take all that out and put it in trucks and tankers and
Move it.
and then move it. It's a big task. It is.
Do you have contact with your wife? This whole time?
Well, they did. They had satellites then, but back during that time, the military didn't pay for their phone calls, and it was pretty high dollar if you called. If you talked it's very few minutes. It was high dollar rate.
Yeah, that's full of internet and all then, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. Like I say, we was all self-efficient. Now we done everything that for ourselves. We didn't depend on nobody else. We even had our own cooks. We had our own bakery units, and we made bread.
Okay.
We had a bread unit. They'd make cinnamon rolls, but they'd make enough for 5,000 troops. And they would drive through there and get them a couple of loaves or how many loaves of bread they wanted, or cinnamon rolls, and they'd start the whole process again.
Was it like a regular job, or did you work 24/7?
Well, when we got ready to move forward to go into Iraq, we worked around the clock for 2 or 3 days. We was totally give out when we finally got forward, getting ready to go into Iraq. But
tell me about that.
Well, okay, like I say, we removed everything on our camp and went forward to the border, and we sat there, and like I say, we hadn't had no sleep, and waiting on the order to go into the Iraq, and then they was debating on whether to go in blackout lights, which is combat lights, or turn your headlights on. But the pathfinders had made a path through that desert to where was our path to go. So we took off at dark, and the whole battalion and us, we had 700 pieces of rolling stock. That's everything from the tanks and the trucks and trailers and whatever else, equipment. And when we took off that night, there was so much dust. I don't care what kind of lights you had, you could not see. You were running and with windshield wipers on to keep the dust off the windshield. And you couldn't see the back. You're supposed to, when you got in blackouts, you're supposed to drive up there. If you see 4 lights on each side, you're too close. So when you get down to 2 cat eyes, you're supposed to be cool. But it was so dusty you couldn't see. I mean, you just literally could not see. And it'd get a traffic jam every once in a while, and then you were so tired, if you stopped for any time frame, you'd be literally asleep. I mean, you'd fall, and then you'd come to, it'd be just quiet. Hot dog, then you would, I mean, that's a few seconds there, and you take off, and you run till you got in the dust again. And we done that off and on all night long until it got daylight. And then when it got daylight, they had told us to make sure we carried enough MREs, which is meals ready to eat, and water for 5 days for each person on the vehicle. That is, if you broke down, stay with the vehicle and let somebody to come after you. I thought to myself, this truck breaks down, I'm getting on the next one. But the next morning there was vehicles that had run off of the embankments and stuff, was just hanging there, or run up on a big berm, or there was stuff laying all over the desert that fell off the trucks, you know. I mean, equipment's, you know, breaking down, the engine's quitting or whatever. But anyways, we went on and stopped at where our helicopter base was, and we finally got a night to rest. And we were so give out that when you laid down, you was out of it. And in the middle of the night, they had some big windstorms over there. I mean, gusts. And we had put out a big old tarp off of our trailer, on our stake bed trailer, to kind of get up under. And well, the wind had got so hard, the tarp was pushing down on us on our cots, and I mean, you couldn't hardly roll out of it. Well, one of the soldiers was sleeping in his truck, and he was so out of it that he fell against the horn on the truck, and it was blowing, and that's a sign of a gas attack. So here we, yeah. So we had to. They was saying gas. So we rode out in the dark, found our chemical gear, put all that on, gas mask, gloves, until they verified it wasn't, and then they went and found it was a soldier asleep. So, but then we got cleared and we went on back and went back to sleep. But the wind was blowing so hard, and when it got daylight, the tarp we had, there was anything that wasn't tied down and light, it was gone. That wind had carried it away wherever. It was no longer there, and it was just a mess.
Was this a one-time occurrence, or this wind happened a lot while you?
You have a lot. The dust storms would be a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would, and you could see them coming. You could see them coming at a distance.
Okay.
You see that dust storm coming, and it happened for 8 or 9 hours. Dust. You couldn't even. I remember eating Christmas dinner, and when you walked in the tent, you couldn't hardly tell. I know we ate plenty of dust, but you couldn't tell where nothing was. It was just you had to wear a rag constantly. You know, it was yeah, that's real fine dirt over there.
Yeah.
Real fine.
Yeah. So did you get to where you wanted to go in 5 days? You said you had 5 days worth of rations.
Yeah. I mean, we always in a convoy. They just saying if you broke down, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened after you got to where you wanted to go?
Well, when we got to Basra,
yeah,
close to the airport there in Basra, the Republican Guard had got run off by our infantry, the 24th, off the air base. Well, then they decided they was going to try to take it back from the U.S. and So they had a little old battle there for about 25, 30 minutes till the helicopters come in there and wiped them out. And so we were sitting there waiting, you know, till they told us to move forward. So we moved forward, and that's when you seen all the death and just, you know, what has happened. You know, they was on that highway of death where they told them not to be on it, and you would see all kind of civilians and stuff that was in the line of fire that got killed, you know. And that was something to see.
Just kept on going?
Well, I'll tell you a story, and I see it every day. The U.S. had put out a lot of cluster bombs. They like a little airplane looking thing, and they was all over the sides of the roads and stuff. And we literally had to run over dead Iraqis to keep from blowing ourselves up, laying in the middle of the road. That was something you couldn't avoid. You just couldn't do it. And I seen where a Hellfire missile went into a vehicle that had civilians in it hauling tomatoes, and the Hellfire missile went in there and exploded and killed the ones in the cab, and then the one on the far right, it had blowed him in half, and his other half of his body was out there behind the truck laying on the ground. But yeah, it was
something you don't forget, I imagine, is it?
No, you don't never forget that. You don't never forget it. But anyways, we left there and set up, and then they done the ceasefire. And back during that era, we still had standard shift trucks. Nowadays, these soldiers can't drive them. They don't know nothing about driving a standard shift. But we had a bunch of them break down before we got there.
Was this new vehicles or old?
Oh, we had a bunch of them old Vietnam era vehicles. A lot of them were. You know, a lot of reserve
really?
units.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't.
30 years old.
Yeah, right, exactly. And we had a few new vehicles, but not that many. And they was cargo trucks, like 5 tons.
Yeah.
We got it, and I tell you another story. We had this old 5-ton tractor truck. You know, it had a engine problem or something, and I told the company commander and all, I said, we ought to leave this truck back at our first starting area. I said, we can fix it when we get back or load it on the boat whenever. But no, they wanted to carry it. They wanted to carry it. So okay. Well, we hooked a tow bar to it with the wrecker, and the wrecker, the high range in the transfer case was out, so we had to go in low range. Low range top speed's about 24 miles an hour. So here we go across that desert, and then the front end of the Dadburn, where the tow bar went, pulling across that desert, about wallered all the boats out in the front end there at the bumper. And we had this one there, we had to go down this long hill. Anyway, my assistant driver was driving then. And we had switched vehicles because the wrecker, when the transfer case went out, it was pulling that truck that was broke down. So we swapped the truck out and put the trailer behind the wrecker. And we was pulling the tractor with a cargo truck with 2 600-gallon fuel tanks and a fuel pump. And my assistant driver was driving. Well, we went down this big old long hill down in the desert there, and we had to go up the other side, a big old long hill up way. So
were these roads or just?
What was made across the desert. We went straight. It wasn't no roads and nothing. You just follow the path where the other one went. Well, anyways, we went down the hill and got up to the top of the hill, and we was going along there, and I looked in my mirror. I didn't see that truck, and I looked in his mirror. I said, whatever you do, don't slow down. That truck's fixing to pass you. it had done broke the tow bar loose from the bumper, and here come that truck.
On its own, huh?
On its own. So we had to swap the wrecker again, hooked it up, and got to our where we was going to camp at. And then the ceasefire come. And so the commander said, you take you some soldiers, and all these vehicles that has got the transfer case or whatever broke down in them or whatever, I want you to carry them back, you know, because they're going to be there another week or so. So this is a scenario here. It was about, I think there was about 10 of us. Most of them was lower ranking soldiers. I had one more NCO with me. So we was gonna bring that old truck back again. So, and I had another NCO from another company, which outranked me. He had his ideas about what to do, and I had mine. So anyways, before it got dark, that truck we was towing, it broke loose from the bumper again. So I said, I ain't fooling with it no more. I took my tow bar off, put it on the truck, and that NCO that outranked me, he come up and know what I was doing. I said, I'm leaving this truck here. I said, we can't do nothing else with it. And he said, no, you gotta carry it. I said, no, I'm not. So I said, you can take and blow it up, burn it up, whatever you want to do with it. I'm not taking it. So we got in an argument. I said, I tell you what you do, you go your way and I'll go mine. So we did. I split ways, and we went around to where the French and all were, and got dark. We drove all in the dark that night, and had to stop. This one soldier from another company had a flat tire, so they was sitting there waiting in the vehicle, and I stopped and asked them what they were doing. They said, we need you to pick up our truck with the wrecker so we can change this tire. I said, you got a jack and all on there. I said, you had that changed already. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get out for just a few minutes, and they didn't have a spare. So I said, I'll let you use my spare, but if you ain't got it done in 10 minutes, I said, I'm leaving you. I didn't use the wrecker because I already had it hooked up. When they got out of that truck, and it
had it done in 10 minutes. Huh?
Yeah. So we drove, and it was so slow because at low range at 20-something mile an hour, and then all the wreckers from every company was out busy retrieving vehicles. So wasn't nobody else to ask for no help. And my soldiers was getting frustrated because we drive, and had to stop and sleep and drive. It took us about 3 days to get back to where our main base camp was. And then we started getting ready to pack our stuff up and clean up and come home.
So how long were you there?
A little over 9 months. Yeah.
Okay.
We got there in September, left sometime in May.
Were you in combat while you were there?
Well, we got some artillery fire, and I never had to fire my weapon the first time. Never did. Yeah, we was in
That's
combat.
a good thing.
Yeah, never had to. We got, like I say, fired on with artillery, but it didn't never come close to us.
So when you left, how long were you here home before you had to go back to Afghanistan?
Well, let me see. Well, I come back home, and like I say, I was in a combat engineer unit then, out of out of Decatur, Alabama, Alpha Company. And we would go to Germany and do missions, and Fort Bliss to the White Sands Missile Range, and we went over to El Salvador when that hurricane hit in the late 90s, and redone all their roads along the coast, repaired them for them, rerouted some riverbeds, and that was a pretty good little old job. It was hot, left in July, and done that, and then I had gotten out for a few years, and when 9/11 hit, I re-enlisted and joined that company, and we had got activated in December of 2003 at the unit. We deployed to Fort Benning, and this was in December, the end of December. Then we went to Fort Benning early January, and went to Afghanistan in March. And we stayed over there about almost 11 months.
In Afghanistan?
Yeah, and we worked on the Bagram Air Base, worked on the airfield there, and which was like I say, a horizontal unit. We'd done all the dirt work preparation, and then we had vertical units that done the concrete, and first one thing done, they had
Tell me about your Bronze Star. Was that Afghanistan or?
It was Afghanistan, yeah. Just for doing a good job. I mean, says for exceptional meritorious service while serving as a member of the Combined Joint Task Force 76 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, Sergeant Adams, First Class Adams' tactical proficiency, selfless commitment to mission accomplishment in a combat zone under the most of extreme circumstances greatly contributed to the success of Operation Enduring Freedom. Sergeant First Class Adams' performance reflects great credit upon himself, the Combined Joint Task Force 76, and the United States Central Command. Just doing my job.
Well, obviously you did a good one. You were gone a lot. What did your wife think about all that? Went with it?
Just went with it, just went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also built that road from Kandahar to Tarin Kowt. We'd done a major road over there. And I'll tell you about it happened. Now in Bagram and Afghanistan and Kandahar, we'd get sporadic mortar rounds all during the night. We'd have to get in a little old bunker. But when we first went out to build that road, we was just a little old small group. Hadn't had no fortification, no protection whatsoever for small arms fire or anything. So the first night we was there, they lobbed in 4 rockets on us, and you just set up on side your bunk, put your flak vest on and your helmet, because you don't know which way to go. You just, because we didn't have no bunker. And I got a piece of the round, one of the mortars, rockets, I picked up on the ground. But and we would get, I got fired on one night with small arms fire. That's when we moved to our second camp. We had just moved there, no fortifications, and I was having to pull guard duty because we didn't have enough soldiers, and we had small arms fire that night. So other than that, it was pretty good. I tell you, when you're in wartime, when you're working, it's just it helps the day go by. It keeps you occupied. And
one day at a time.
One day at a time. Yeah. And I was in NCOIC, so I mainly supervised the road project, and I would correct the soldiers if they were doing something wrong or messing up, or But overall, I taught a lot of soldiers their craft. They got real proficient at it.
Yeah. What about civilian contractors? A lot of.
Well, they had civilian contractors doing a lot of our maintenance in the camps, and they also, when you was in Kandahar or Bagram, they fed you civilians. So most of and you had your own. Well, they had laundry units, washing machines out in the field, and you washed your own clothes. You didn't carry them nowhere. You just, when you got a chance, get up in the middle of the morning when everybody was asleep, or whenever you got a chance and wash your clothes, or you wear them for a week dirty. You know, you just made the best you could do.
What an adventure. Well, anything we didn't cover that you would like to, especially? What would you tell whoever views this? Any life lessons you particularly took away from it? Did it change your life in any way by being over there? Do you feel differently about war and warfare?
Well, I believe it helped me in respect and enjoy this country a lot more, because we're fighting for our freedom and everybody's freedom, and that's what everybody needs to put their mind to start thinking more for this country and not wanting to put us down for everything we do. You know, I just enjoyed doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Helping this country.
Were you treated poorly when you came home, or?
No, sir. No, sir. Had a good welcome committee, and it was what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a story though. When we was moving all of our equipment forward to the border, the maintenance people. I had worked as a technician with the Civil Service at an Army Reserve unit, so. And me and four of us did, and we was in that unit, and we knew everything about every piece of equipment, knew how to work on it, how to fix it. And when we was carrying it up to the border, it was raining real bad, and the regular roads they got over there, the shoulders is real bad. And we was pulling a heavy laundry unit behind one of them new 5-ton trucks. And it was raining, and we was meeting them tank haulers. Them trucks is huge, the hets, big trailers and all, but they didn't have a tank on it. But I got off the shoulder. Like I say, it was raining real hard. And when I got ready to try to get back up on the shoulder, I could tell that the tires was turning, but it was going down straight. And I told my buddy, I called him Will. I said, Will, I don't know which way this truck's going. I said, you better hold on.
Are they 4-wheel drive trucks?
Yeah. But anyways, it finally caught hold, and here come one of them tank haulers. And they could say it was dark and raining. And it got up on the road, and I just did enough time to get it straightened back up. When I got to a pull-off spot, I told him, I said, it's your turn to drive.
Don't blame you a bit. Well, we're very thankful for your service, sir.